Hi, welcome back. This is the second session of warehouse management system. So here we would like to focus on three things. First is how do we design, how do we understand the warehouse layout? What are the key parameters that we need to understand? We also need to draw the material movements within the warehouse, how material moves from the entry point to like exit point. Want to analyze that data as well. And the third one is that where are those structural things related to the sub inventory and locators inside the warehouse. When you do analysis of layout, material movements, and sub inventory locator, automatically these three things will come together. While we do the analysis, we want to focus on for getting this inbound, and then we also want to focus on the internal movements like replenishments and the outbound movements. So we'll keep these three things in focus. So I have designed a small warehouse. This is the orange color. As you see, this is the boundary line of the warehouse. Material is actually flowing from left to right. So left one is part of the inbound operation, as you see, and the extreme right is the outbound operation. So the trucks will come and go. Now, if you analyze from left to right, so the material comes to the inbound area through the various mechanisms. Few of them are listed here. One is the purchase order. If you're buying material from the supplier, then purchase order will hit your inbound. If there's an internal movements of material from some other warehouse to your organization, that's through internal transactions. So that is through the internal shipments. That's INT I'm written. Return material authorization, if there is a customer return which is coming from the customer where you have sold it first, so those will be received through the RMA. And in case you have a manufacturing unit tied to the warehouse, then manufacturing can also supply the material through the WIP processes. So these are the four major processes through material can come. Well, another thing that's very common is, apart from PO, you can also have ASN, advanced shipment notice, through which material can also come to the warehouse. So this is the entry point. Next one is all of these materials, they have to go to the receiving area first, where the temporarily is stored, and then it will move to their permanent storage area. So in this case, I put two receiving area. One is RCV, one is RCV1. And then the material from the receiving area, you may label it, you repalletize it, or you may generate certain labels specific to the warehouse, for example LPN number and all. So they get generated here, and then the material moves to its permanent place. Let's say the bulk is the name of the sub inventory, and this is the small designation of the locator, which is 3-segment locator here. Locator is the smallest unit of or location in the warehouse in which we store material. So a pallet can be stored in A1.S1.1. That's the locator name. That's a 3-dimensional structure. Row, first segment can be row, it can be rack, and the third one can be a bin. So this is the permanent storage of the incoming material. Now, based on the sales order, material should move to the outbound side, and there is a replenishment between case and bulk is depicted here. So the material will typically go to the case. That's another sub inventory where you keep the boxes of material, and from there would be a sales order which will be picked. So from case to the staging lane, and from the staging lane it will go to the outbound area. So on the top arrow, which shows that this particular transaction is like receiving transactions, right? This is the actual deliver transactions, you can say. This movement is highlighted here. This is the replenishment between bulk and case. And then finally from case to a staging lane is known as picking process. So receiving, delivery, and then replenishment, and then picking is what actually the 4 transactions are depicted here. 1H, 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour. This is typical time that material is spent. And this is relative only. There's no, this is just hypothetical number. Typically materials and a couple of hours it will stay here. Probably in bulk area they'll stay for a week if you're weekly replenishing the warehouse. and then probably a day or two in the case area, and then go to the staging. So the highlight is the staging area is where the material is stay at the minimum, or that's why they call it temporary staging lanes, right? um, these all movements are internal movements. Between this door to this door the materials moves, those are all internal movements. Once the material moves out from the staging lane to the truck, it can go you can, that's kind of shipping transactions, sales order issue transaction takes place, and material moves on, right? So now we have understood this is the warehouse that we are going to model in the system, and we'll also try to configure the transaction as much as possible. A couple of additional things that we have to keep in mind is each one of them is a location in the system, so you have to define them. The whole warehouse, which is configured, what is the costing method of the organization, in this case the warehouse itself, whether you're following standard costing, average costing, LIFO and FIFO, how this in this warehouse, how these lots and serial number would be generated, along with that the LPN generation. So all of this logic we have to define and understand before we start using the system or start using the warehouse for any other transactions. These are not the exhaustive list. This is the key points that I'm going to highlight. Based on this view, we can structure the warehouse inside the system, which we'll see in the next session. So thank you very much for watching this video.